Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and today I've got to start working out what I actually need to do next on the 680. So basically I've been working away on this thing for the last few months, just pushing towards paint, and my mind has been pretty much solely focused on that. And now that it's basically painted, I need to work out what I need to do next, and that means I actually have to start getting things out, do a stock take of what I've got, what I need, and where I'm going to go moving forward. Because I am, to be honest, very disorganised. I just sort of plug away, and then comes to another day when I have to film another episode, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do today? And I have no idea. So first things first is start taking stock, and I need to make myself a list of jobs that need to be done and the order in which I need to do them. It's a big thing to tackle, particularly because I bought this car as a pile of parts. So it's not like putting back together a car that I already pulled apart and I know where everything goes. I don't know where anything goes. I've got to just ferret through the parts, work out what I've got, what I don't have, what I still need to get, and yeah. So let's get into that. Yeah. Bolting these pieces on now is a little bit of sort of self-indulgence because I just wanted to see them all together. They're going to have to come off again for polishing and that sort of stuff, but I just want to see what it looked like. These mirrors look so much better. They just, it's just transformed them from being these cheap, nasty-looking mirrors to some really nice matching pieces. I suppose another good point of bolting these things on is it's a good place to store them, that they're less likely to be damaged, although you've seen how clumsy I am, so all bets are off. In any case, now let's actually start doing some work. Alright, I've gone through, I've made myself a bit of a list to start just things that I know that I need right now to move things forward. Now, as you saw, I went through and I unmasked all the bits in the engine bay. I needed to get that done so that I can clean it all up and get the brake lines and everything in before I put the engine in, because it's going to be really difficult getting in around it after the engine's in. I mean, it's not a huge engine. There is a fair bit of room in this engine bay, unlike more modern cars, but it's still much easier to do it now than it is to do it then. So tidying that up is my first job, and then I need to go through and start working out what I need to do to put the engine in. To put the engine in, I need to put the gearbox on. To put the gearbox on, I have a new clutch, but I have to go and get the flywheel tidied up, and I actually need some flywheel bolts because the car didn't come with any. So I'm going to have to find some of them. So there's lots of little bits and pieces that are just holding me back on each bit. Yeah, the interior, there's little bits holding me back. There's bits and pieces everywhere. So I'm going to have to sort of piece through it and try and formulate a plan and order some bits and get a little bit organised, because I'm really disorganised. And now that I'm doing 2 episodes a week on the Datsun, I'm really getting through it. Okay, so now I have a bit more of a plan of attack going forward. I'm going to get in here and just tidy up these brake lines and fuel lines and everything. I'm going to get in and I'm just going to spray them with some satin black. Same with the cross member and all that sort of stuff. Just make it look a little bit tidier before I chuck everything back in. And yeah, and then try and sort of bolt it all up and start getting the engine bay put back together. So a quick coat of black over all this stuff and it looks much, much neater than it did. It's not perfect, but it's down the bottom of the engine bay. I just wanted to tidy it up. It's not a robust paint job. It's just making things nice and sort of neat and tidy in, around, behind the engine. All right, the next thing I'm going to sort through is I've got all of these interior trim panels. Now, this has got to be the thinnest, flimsiest, most brittle interior bits I have ever seen on any car. It's lucky if it's a millimeter thick, this plastic. It is so brittle and flimsy, I can't imagine that there are any Datsun 240Zs still out there at the moment that have original trim panels that are in perfect condition. Or at least never taken apart, because these are just so flimsy. It's just nothing to them. They're all broken, but as I said, I don't imagine that there is such thing as a non-broken bit. So this is something I'm going to have to do something about, but at the moment, I don't even know where these bits go. So I'm going to loosely try and fit them up in the back and see what I have and what I need, and yeah. And then I'll have to sort out something. Okay, so I've gone through what I've got, and I've got most of the bits and pieces for the interior, even if they are a bit bashed up. I think I'll have to go and talk to Zach and see if he's got anything better, if he does or if he doesn't. Also, I know that these wheel arches are covered with that diamond-shaped this stuff, normally. But I'm not sure about these panels sort of behind the door, going down to the bottom. I'm not sure if there's a trim panel that's supposed to be over there. Also, I don't seem to have any trim panel for covering up the tail lights in the back. So there's a couple of bits and pieces that I have to sort of track down. Also, kick panels for either side of in front of the doors. So there's a few bits and pieces I've got to track down. There's lots of bits and pieces I'm going to have to make and fabricate when I start building this interior, but that's fine. I've got my head around what I need to do in the interior now, so it's time to move back outside again. Well, it didn't take this bench long to turn into a big pile of junk, which I definitely have to clean up. Before I go on too far, I'll have a look at this wing that I was just about to paint last week and broke. So it's all cracked all along here because it fell down on this end. So I'm going to probably sort of trim this in around here a bit, cut it back, and run some epoxy in there to try and just tidy it all up and make it nice and neat and tidy, ready to paint again. I'm really not moving forward in any coherent manner today. Everything is just a bit up in the air and all over the place. This wing now has the epoxy on it. That's setting up. It's supposed to be 5-minute stuff. I'll give it a good half an hour to set up, and then I'll go over it with some fiberglass filler and tidy that up. While I'm waiting for that, it's time to, I think, get in the back in the sandblasting cabinet and tidying up some of these bits and pieces. So these are the original brake calipers for the car. I'm actually going to reuse the original brakes because I am not going a massive increase in power. I'm happy enough that these should do the job with a nice refresh, some nice fresh brakes. I think it should be more than enough. It's not worth over braking a car. I'm all for upgrading the brakes if you upgrade the power, but we're really talking not a lot over standard power. I'm pretty sure what this engine will make. So I'll tidy these up and yeah, we'll get into the sandblasting cabinet and see how we can make these look. At the moment they are pretty crusty and rusty and terrible. Let's see what the sandblaster does to them. All right, all these bits and pieces I've just sort of gathered together and I sandblasted just now. I'm going to go through, give them a bit of a quick prep salt and give them a light coat of paint. The calipers, I'm going to do them all silver just to get them all looking nice and neat and tidy, and hopefully that they'll keep a nice finish for a while. I'm not going to bother masking up any of the rubbers or any of the bits and pieces because these are going to get fully rebuilt anyway. So it doesn't matter if the pads and bits and pieces are all painted. It's more about getting the rest of it done. So it's a good time to do it now. Get some colour on these things, and they should stay looking better for at least a little while longer. Continuing with the day's disjointed theme, I think I might bolt the rear bar on because it's pretty good down there. There's not a lot of work to do around it. So that said, I just noticed that there's a bunch of runs just here, but they're lower than the bar, so I can cut and buff them later, and it shouldn't interfere too much. So yeah, let's bolt the bar on. Okay, that was quite a disjointed episode today, doing bits and pieces here, there and everywhere, but there's a little bit of method to my madness, and I've got a bit more direction now. I've got a bit more idea of where I need to go to move forward. So there's little things, little bits and pieces I need to grab together and order this in the next couple of days, so that will help move things along. And yeah, fingers crossed we can start buttoning this thing up and putting it all together. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it right. So, all right, guys. Well, that must mean it's time for fun facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, 1988 saw a change in name sponsorship of the Great Race to Tui's 1000. Controversy again plagued the race, as after the Friday qualifier, Holden Special Vehicles driver Tom Walkinshaw lodged a formal protest against the Aussie Ford Sierras. The feeling around the pit was that this was done to disrupt the teams by making them dismantle their cars for inspection. Dick Johnson Racing countered this protest with their own against the HSV's Commodores, and interestingly the Sierras were cleared while the Commodores went on to be disqualified. This was the first and only time that the race was run from a rolling start, with the RS 500s dominating the race and taking out the top 8 places.
All right, hopefully next week I'll have a little bit more structure and I'll be a little bit more planned. Today was bits and pieces, but the car is looking great. I love seeing the mirrors and the flares on it. Even if they're not on there for good, it's just nice to put them somewhere that looks good.
It's nice to see things progressing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it should be much more progress next week. And yeah. I'll be a little more organised. Maybe.
Famous last words. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you are enjoying the channel, please like and subscribe. And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and obviously
every time.
Obviously YouTube.
Yes. And grab some merch. Help us out in the link in the description. All right, guys. See you next time.
Lodged a formal complaint against the Aussie drivers. Protest against. Is that right? Lodged a formal protest complaint. Damn it, I just can't. Protest against the Aussie drivers. Is that okay?